a temporary 2-year cap on new international student permits. It is $20,635 in funds to support themselves in Canada.
The biggest challenge was finding a job.
I was struggling to find a job.
You saw those 3 clips, and I would like to alert you that they have a severe impact on international students who recently came to Canada and those who are coming in the future. I have created this video to spread awareness of why the Canadian government started taking strict measures to control immigration so drastically, so you are aware of the current situation in Canada. But before that, let's look at some events that happened in the past that brought us to this point. Pandemic era policies. Temporary work permit to certain visitors. On March 18, 2020, Canada shut down its borders to international travelers. Nobody can enter Canada except Canadian citizens, permanent residents, and essential workers. On the other hand, many temporary residents, like visitors who came before the shutdown, could not leave Canada immediately, and many international tourists were stuck in Canada without any idea when they would return to their home country. After a few months, on 24th August 2020, the Canadian government came up with a policy to allow temporary residents who are inside Canada to get a work permit temporarily. And this opened a whole new avenue for innumerable temporary residents to get an opportunity to stay in Canada for a few years and gain Canadian experience. But why did Canadian government do this? The Canadian government did this to fill the gap of labor shortages. Canada was going through labor shortages during that time due to the pandemic, and this policy allowed essential Canadian businesses to fill vacant positions. Temporary resident to permanent residency path 2021.
Today, I'm proud to announce the creation of a pathway to permanent residence for up to 90,000 essential workers and recent international graduates in Canada.
On May 6th, 2021, the Canadian government introduced a new TR to PR pathway policy. In this policy, the Canadian government wanted 90,000 individuals with temporary residence visa and international students to apply for permanent residency directly if they met certain criteria. What many did not see that with this TR to PR pathway, not only 90,000 individuals got the opportunity to apply for permanent residency, but they also included their spouses in their permanent resident application. Canada's response to the global humanitarian crisis. Canada is known to help people who are facing oppression in their home country or due to war their lives are in danger. Back in 2015, Canada took 25,000 Syrian refugees, and it continued to help people in need who are fleeing their home country due to war. For example, Canada accepted innumerable Ukrainians and Afghans. Recently, when the US Army left Afghanistan finally on 30th August 2021, Canada also took in 12,000 Afghans and was willing to take more. From some other reports, Canada took around 40,000 Afghans. Inflation, housing crisis, and unemployment. So now we know that Canada allowed many tourists, refugees, and international students direct pathway to permanent residency, and this resulted in crises like inflation, housing crisis, and unemployment. When I came to Canada in March 2020, I vividly remember that I bought a loaf of bread for only $1.57. And now that very same loaf of bread is selling for $1.97. You may be thinking that it is just 40 cents more. But put it this way, it is 25% expensive. During 2020, the average rent of a one bedroom apartment in Calgary was around $1,300, maybe less. But now the average rent of one bedroom is around $1,800. One thing that comes to my mind is that the demand for food, shelter, and jobs are unprecedentedly high, and the supply is very, very, very low. International students are facing housing crisis in all provinces. See what a group of international students have to say about housing crisis in Nova Scotia province.
Research, our parents also did our research, but we have been doing it since 3 months and we have got no answer. Mostly they are not giving it to students, and as we tell them that we're international, they reject it instantly.
They say the demand is high for apartments.
Like whenever we go to the landlord, he says like I have a 200 applications for this one unit. So it was a bit scary.
Unending queue for one job position. International students stand in an unending queue outside local businesses to apply for a job. No availability in other forms of self-employment. Back in early 2020, when many food businesses were prohibited from hosting their guests for dining, that time many food delivery services like DoorDash, Skip the Dishes, and Uber Eats paved a way for self-employment to earn basic sustenance. However, due to countless registrations since 2020, now many food delivery service companies have withheld new applications. Canada reached a level where dramatic changes were necessary to control these crises. And one area where Canadian government could make immediate changes was the international study permit sphere, only for the good of the international students, I think. But these changes may have adverse outcome for the current international students, and they are already facing extreme challenges. Substantial policy changes by the Canadian government. On January 22nd, 2024, the Canadian government imposed a 2-year cap on granting study permits to international students. Postgraduate work permit for master's and doctoral students only. The Canadian government is making strict rules for getting postgraduate work permit, which was granted to many international students in the past effortlessly. But now, only students who have enrolled in the master's or doctoral programs will be eligible for the postgraduate work permit. Hence, many undergraduate students' hope of getting postgraduate work permit is shattered. They cannot work after completing their undergraduate diploma. No spousal open work permit for international students who are in undergraduate or college programs. Before this rule, the undergraduate and college program international students were able to call their partners and spouses on spousal open work permit. The Big Bang. Temporary suspension of provincial nominee program. Ontario PNP and British Columbia PNP are the toughest program to get a nomination from for many students who have completed their studies from Ontario and British Columbia. Since a couple of years, countless students from these provinces go out to other provinces like Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Prince Edward Island to get PNP nomination. However, due to recent influx of immigrants to Canada, these once upon a time easy provinces temporarily suspended their PNP program. Many international students, after moving to other provinces, are not getting PNP nominations, and the time is running out for them. Some examples.
A temporary pause is now in effect for workers in the restaurant and accommodation sector seeking immigration through the Nova Scotia Nominee Program. The program allows the province to nominate skilled workers.
Nova Scotia has placed a temporary hold on applications from workers in the food and accommodation sector who are seeking immigration through the Nova Scotia Nominee Program due to overwhelming demand. Yukon Territory paused some of its nominee program because the PNP applications surpassed their limit. Rising CRS scores and a huge number of applicants under 451 and 500 range. Post-pandemic, IRCC started inviting candidates from the Canadian experience class and candidates with PNP nominations, because many candidates were already inside Canada. IRCC withheld general draws for some time, and this created a huge backlog for the general category. The minimum CRS score cutoff for the last two general category were 549 on 10th April 2024 and 529 on 23rd April 2024. If you look at the CRS score distribution on canada.ca website, you will see that there are almost 17,000 candidates in the 501 and 600 CRS score range. When a young undergraduate or college student looks at these unanticipated changes around him or her, only one thing crosses their minds. Will I become a permanent resident of Canada ever? I'm glad that you watched this video until the end. Thank you so very much. I have started this channel to spread awareness rather than demotivate young aspirants who are planning to come to Canada or immigrate to any other country to chase their dreams. I would like to help people so that they become successful in their lives. I truly and humbly request you to please subscribe to my channel, like and share my video. See you all in another eye-opening video.